Hey, what's up, everybody? Chicago Goonie here, bringing another Arsenal talk. Well, this is part three of the transfer window segments that I'm doing, and it's going to cover the defenders and goalkeeper. And there's not too much to say about the defenders and goalkeepers, but I'll get a little bit into it here. Um, as far as the defenders go, there's not much that we need now as far as defenders go. On uh, the left backs, we have Monreal, and then we have Gibbs. At the center half position, now that we bought Gabriel, we have four center halves, which includes Colum Chambers. Um, and I don't, after buying Gabriel, which I think was a good buy, I don't think that we'll go out and buy another center half. I know a lot of people are saying we should go out and buy another center half, but I don't think that's going to happen. Like Arsene Wenger said, unless it's a world-class player, we're not going to really be buying anybody else in this summer. And I think that goes for the center half position. I mean, not too many world-class center halves are available. There's just not enough of them, obviously, throughout the world. You see the scoring output these days. You just see a lack of talent coming through anybody's ranks. You look at Arsenal's youth academy, and there's really not many names other than like Isaac Hayden coming through the ranks as center half, and that's like that everywhere, pretty much. Germany has a few young guys. I know Ginter played in the World Cup for Germany. Arsenal was on his radar, or we were on his radar, I guess, for a short while until he transferred to Dortmund. But the only name that's really available is Matt Hummels, but he has so many links with Manchester United over the last probably about 2 years almost. But these links really do seem real this time, I think, in my opinion, that he will be transferring possibly to Manchester United this summer. Of course, they won't have Champions League football. They will have possibly Europa League football, and I think Matt Hummels is possibly on his way out of Dortmund. And I think Manchester United is the lead dog there because they can offer him a big salary, a big wages that other teams just can't. Of course, they can afford the transfer fee. I mean, we could afford the transfer fee, but I'm sure, I don't know if we would be willing to pay him, 225,000 pounds a week for a center half when we already have, Koscielny, Gabriel, Mertesacker, and Colum Chambers as, part of the future. So I don't think we'll be buying a center half in this window unless one comes available. Obviously, if a world-class center half comes available, obviously we're probably going to throw our hat in the ring, but I just don't see it happening. As far as our right backs go, this is where we have a little bit of problem now. Of course, we got Matthew Debuchy in last summer. He's been hurt majority of the season. He came back for the Reading game, and he hasn't really been back since. And of course, we have the emergence of Hector Bellerin, who is always highly thought of, coming from the Barcelona system. After buying him, a lot of people are concerned that Barcelona might come calling for him at some point. I just don't see that happening just because of Montoya at Barcelona currently. Dani Alves is out after this season. Many reports are saying that Dani Alves and Manchester United have already agreed to a contract. But as far as Barcelona's future, as far as right back goes, it seems like Montoya is the future. Very pacey again. Decent crosser of the ball. I'm sure he'll get better as time goes on. But many Barcelona fans rate him higher than even the emergence of Bellerin currently. Bellerin has pace. All these reports saying that he's faster than Theo Walcott. I'm sorry, but I just don't. I'm sorry. I know he has some wheels on him. I know he has some jets, but let's be real here. I do not think. I just don't see it. I just don't see how he's faster than Theo Walcott. Yeah, maybe on a man-made, man-timed run that he did. If it's not digital, if it's not computerized, I have a hard time believing that he is actually faster than Theo Walcott. Um, but yeah, he does have some pace to him, and of course, with his emergence and with his, how he just grew into the season and how he's gotten, better and better, as a 20-year-old now, he's only going to get better. Yeah, it could be a possibility that Montoya might burn out at Barcelona, and maybe Barcelona comes back and does try to come back after Hector Bellerin. But it just seems like the kid is very happy here at Arsenal. Yeah, you said that about Cesc Fabregas, and Cesc Fabregas, bolted at the first chance that he got. But at the same time, when Barcelona fans are even saying that, even now that Montoya is head and shoulders better than Bellerin, that's saying a lot. That's saying a lot. That's just by watching Bellerin and his progression throughout the season. It's been great to see, obviously. But this is where the problem lies because of Carl Jacobson will be coming back from loan from West Ham after the season. Not many people know what's going to be going on with that. Um, Arsene Wenger kind of had like almost like a kiss of death, saying that we're not going to be selling Carl Jacobson. Carl Jacobson, I feel sorry for the kid just because of the fact that Hector Bellerin has emerged and became basically the number one now. It seems like if we play more of an attacking game, Hector Bellerin's going to start. If we play more of a defensive game, it seems like Debuchy gets the start. You can see the differences in our back line. When Gibbs starts, then Debuchy will start. When Hector Bellerin starts, and Monreal will start. It seems like there's like a nice rotation to where we're going to have at least one attacking fullback and then one defensive fullback that will stay back and hold the line for the most part. And but what's going to happen? A lot of experts are saying that West Ham is going to buy Carl Jenkinson. There's some other reports saying that he will be loaned back out again for a second straight season, which I think would be the smart thing to do. Just because Debuchy, I believe, is 29 or 30 at the stage, and how many years does he have left, really? Again, he was bent. Obviously with his couple injuries this season, he's been out for most of the season. Thank God that Bellerin has been staying healthy and staying fit. But once Debuchy gets fully healthy, we just bought him. I don't know if I can see us dealing him this summer, unless Debuchy feels that he won't get any time with Hector Bellerin being possibly the number one now. That's the only way I can see Debuchy leaving the club, and then Jenkinson will obviously come back and fight for that first spot with Hector Bellerin. But if you look at Hector Bellerin and Carl Jenkinson, yeah, Jenkinson's had a great year with West Ham, playing first team football, being the number one choice right back. Other than when West Ham played Arsenal, he's basically started every single game, and that's good for him. That's good to for him to gain experience, for him to gain confidence. But it's gonna be one to look at of what we're gonna do with Carl Jenkinson when he does come back on loan. I think the smart way to go is either one, sell him to West Ham and have a buyback clause, or two, put him back out on loan to West Ham again, or to a higher to a better team. Someone who's, maybe a Southampton, maybe even a Liverpool. I mean, Liverpool fucking needs fullbacks. They've been running that crappy back three and wing backs and everything for this entire season. It just doesn't work, in my opinion. They just don't have the center halves to really combat the struggles that they've had this year defensively. So that's a possibility. You might see him possibly going to Liverpool for a season. It would be beneficial to him if he got on a better team than a West Ham. West Ham had a good first half of the season, but the second half has been dismal. They've dropped so far, down. They were at Boxing Day, I believe they were fourth, and now I think they're currently ninth. So they fell pretty hard. But again, what would be the better option, to loan him back out or to loan him to a better team, or to sell him off and get a buyback clause, because obviously that's probably going to happen, to get a buyback clause, because it seems like that's what Arsenal does with a lot of players. I mean, even when Carlos Vela was sold to Real Sociedad, he had a buyback clause, which we actually gained money from, last summer from. So we definitely can probably see something like that happening, but I can't see Carl Jenkinson being part of the roster, um, next season, just because of the progression of Hector Bellerin, and he's proved, he's played in some really big games this season. Yes, he's made some mistakes. He is young, he's still learning, kind of like on the fly, but at the same time, he stood up to the pressure so far, and that's great to see from a young kid. It's just, sky's the limit for him. With his emergence, you could easily probably say, even when you looked at Cullum Chambers early on in the season playing at center half, you're looking at a future center half for the England national team. You're looking at possibly a right back for the Spain national team in possibly like 4 years. So it looks good for, as far as the youth goes, coming, that we're producing, especially with Bellerin, that we're producing talent coming out of the academy and stuff, and coming out of like the under 19s, the under 21s, that some of these guys are finally starting to come up through the Arsenal system, and that we're not going to have to go out and spend 15, 20, 25 million pounds on a right back. So I mean, Hector Bellerin, I mean, he saved us a ton of money. So that's about it for the defenders. I can't see us buying anybody defender wise this summer. Unless something catastrophic happens, if possibly Mertesacker leaves this summer, yeah, we should go out and buy another one, maybe a veteran type. But I can't see them selling off just because he could provide the backup if Gabriel really challenges for that number one spot next to Koscielny. But that's about it for the defenders. As far as the goalkeepers go, there's only two names on the list currently. The first one is Petr Cech. He's been in the news a lot in the last few days. I guess, through the channels, Arsenal is trying to get Petr Cech to force a move to Arsenal. Of course, players can do this. Players can say, they can hand in their transfer papers and say, this is the only team I want to go to. They can do that. The only problem with that is the fact that another London club, we're kind of like next door neighbors to Chelsea. Chelsea hates us, we hate Chelsea. That's going to be a difficult buy. Of course, like I said, the player can force the move if he wants to. He can easily just say, this is the only team I want to be transferred to, and that's it. That's what happened with Cesc Fabregas. Cesc Fabregas pretty much forced his own move to Barcelona, and it pretty much kind of screwed us, especially with the transfer fee, because of the fact that he didn't want to go anywhere else other than Barcelona. And so we were kind of screwed with the transfer fee. And we still got money back, obviously, for when he went to Chelsea. But again, that's an example of a player using his power, and Petr Cech can do the same exact thing. There's been some numbers being thrown around. Most of them I don't believe. They're saying that Petr Cech will only cost 10 million pounds. No fucking way. There is absolutely no way that he is going to cost that less money, because even with Petr Cech being on the bench, you can easily say that he is a top 5 goalkeeper. Honestly, even with him on the bench, you can say he's a top 5 goalkeeper. He still has, I think he's about like 32, 33 years old. So he still has about like 4 or 5 years of good football left in him. He still has a lot of good years left in him as a goalkeeper. If he does become available, if Chelsea is willing to sell him to us, hell yeah. Ospina has done nothing wrong since he's been the number one. But at the same time, if a goalkeeper of Petr Cech's stature comes available, and we have the ability to buy him, yeah, you buy him because he just ultimately makes the defense that much better. I mean, Petr Cech is the type of goalkeeper that will save you a few points over a course of a season. You know, he is a goalkeeper that can help you get to the next stages of the Champions League. Um, you know, he's just that good. He's that smart of a goalkeeper. He's just that damn good. But the $10 million or £10 million mark is, there's no way that they're going to sell from Chelsea to Arsenal for that little amount of money. Of course, with the next name I'm going to talk to, it kind of goes within this. If you know, Hugo Lloris is the other name. You know, obviously I brought that up in a past episode, that he has a buyout clause of £20 million to another a Champions League team. He has into his contract that if Tottenham doesn't qualify for the Champions League, that he can be sold to another to a Champions League team. Now that doesn't mean just Arsenal. That doesn't mean just in the EPL. That means all over the world. If your team, you know, makes the Champions League, you can, you know, anybody can come in and buy Hugo Lloris for £20 million. So if he's going to be costing £20 million, you have to think that Petr Cech is going to cost that or even more, possibly even £25 million. Especially going from Chelsea to Arsenal, they're going to get as much money from us as possible. They're going to pretty much kind of like hold him ransom, almost like he's Arsene Wenger's kid, and you know, they're going to hold him ransom to whatever type of money that they pretty much want. Of course, Arsenal, you know, they do smart business when it does come to transfers, and they try to get a player for as less money as possible. But with this, it's going to be a tricky one to try to get Petr Cech into the fold and try to get him away from Chelsea. It's going to be a real tough one. But again, but then there's Hugo Lloris, another goalkeeper. You can easily say Hugo Lloris is top 10, top 15 goalkeeper in the world. And you know, for £20 million, that's a good possibility. You know, is he better than Ospina? Yeah. You know, those are the type of guys that you want to look at. Those are the type of guys that, you know, because you don't know what's going to happen with Szczesny. Szczesny might just be pissed off at the end of the season and just say, you know what, I want out. There's some reports saying that Szczesny's going to be loaned out, or a permanent move. You know, that's the only kind of options. Just by Szczesny's body language throughout games, sometimes when he has to warm up a little bit because, you know, Ospina goes down, he has a little knock, and all of a sudden you see Szczesny on the sidelines kind of like warming up a little. It's you know, his face and his body language, it just doesn't look good. You know, he kind of knows already that there's no way he's probably going to go in anyway. But I mean, his body language is just kind of dirt. So are we going to need another goalkeeper going into next season? It's a possibility. And if a goalkeeper like Petr Cech or even Hugo Lloris becomes available, yeah, you go out and get him, because he just makes the back line that much better. He makes the defense that much better. He can, like I said, save us a few points over a course of a season, and you know, that's what it really comes down to. In a season, when you're fighting for top four, when you're fighting for winning the league, you know, a few points can go a long way. You know, and when a world-class goalkeeper comes available, you go out and get them. So it is a good possibility. It's going to be one to look out for. You know, during the summer, of what Chelsea is going to do with Petr Cech, where he wants to go, who he wants to play for. Does he want to stay in England? Does he want to go abroad and play maybe in Spain or Bundesliga or Italy or France? You know, obviously he's going to want Champions League football. Obviously he's going to want the best team possible. You know, it's a possibility if De Gea goes that he's going to say, I want Manchester United as well. So there might be a little fight between us and Manchester United for Petr Cech. Maybe even Hugo Lloris, because there was already a report saying that Louis van Gaal would be interested in purchasing Hugo Lloris if De Gea leaves for Real Madrid. But then again, that leaves open Casillas. Where's Casillas going to go then? That's a good possibility too. We've been having shitload of links for the last 3 years for Casillas, especially over the last 2 years. There's been more links again throughout the last about month, 2 months with Casillas, and there's a lot of reports going out of Real Madrid. It almost seems like they're just going to blow the whole thing up. There's been reports of CR7 leaving. There's been reports of saying Bale is ready to leave Real Madrid. There's been reports that, again, De Gea is going to be bought by Real Madrid in the summertime. And Casillas he's not going to sit on the bench again for, he is one of those guys that's, it's all about the team, and, he'll sacrifice himself. Obviously you saw that with Jose Mourinho's reign. Even last year with Ancelotti's first year, Casillas only played in the Champions League basically, and Copa del Rey. That's the only times that Casillas ever played. He played in the cup games, but this year it was a different story. He played in just about every single game. I think I forgot his name, from Costa Rica, Navas, I think his name. I think he only played in maybe 1 or 2 games the whole entire season. But again, if Real Madrid, lets him go, where is he going to want to go? Of course, like I said, Barcelona. In my previous episodes, they have a transfer ban, so they can't buy anybody. Would they transfer him to another, possibly Atletico Madrid? But I can't see that happen. They're not going to, sell him off. It's just like Petr Cech with us and Chelsea. It's hard to see that they would sell him off to a rival. And again, Casillas is going to want Champions League football. Casillas is going to want the best team possible. Is there a possibility that Manchester United and Real Madrid work something out to where they trade goalkeepers? It's a possibility. That's another possibility. So there's basically like 3 names out there right now that it's a good possibility that they could come to Arsenal if Arsenal wants another goalkeeper. It just all depends on Arsene Wenger. It all depends, how much faith does he still have left in Chesney? How much faith does he have in Ospina being the number one goalkeeper? It's all up to Arsene Wenger at the end of the day. But if you looked in his past previous years, when world class goalkeepers came available, he went out and got one. So it would be an upgrade, obviously. I love Espina and what he's done throughout the second half of the season, but when you can upgrade a single, because that's the only position, it's not like buying a center half or a winger or even a midfielder where you have, more than one on the pitch at the same time. This is different. This is a goalkeeper. This is only one of them that can play throughout most of the season, and when you can upgrade it, you go after it. So tell me what you think. Which goalkeeper would you want? Would you want Petr Cech? Would you want Lloris? Or would you want Casillas? Which of those 3 would you want at Arsenal? Probably many people would say just to fuck over Tottenham, to buy Hugo Lloris from Tottenham just to give them the middle finger. But again, Petr Cech is better than Hugo Lloris. Casillas is better than Hugo Lloris. So, which out of those 3 would you take first? Because, Casillas and Petr Cech, they're pretty much kind of even. Petr Cech is a lot taller. He has a little more length, obviously with his legs and his arms than Casillas. But Casillas always had that, his positioning and his reflexes are just second to none. And he showed that in the Champions League. He saved about 2 or 3 goals in that last game versus Juventus. So. Which one would you guys take out of those 3? And that's probably the conclusion. I probably will get into more transfer talk once the season ends, and once some concrete links start to become available. But the links to all 3 of these, for the strikers and the winners, will be in the description. And that'll be it. Later.